love's for beginners. Ain't no witness, it slips through your fingers. I ain't telling no lies. So F all the drama, F the karma. Just do what you wanna. Promise you got time. Be you and keep looking forward. Don't you look backwards and you'll be fine. Come through and say what you need to. Don't let them put you down. Baby, let me tell you what it feels like. Being independent, no trouble inside. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Let me tell you what it feels like. Being whose mama, yeah, to yourself right. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Come get your future. Know you wanna, she'll never betray ya. She ain't telling no lies. So break the glass ceiling, find your meaning, make truth out of dreaming. Yeah. Baby, let me tell you what it feels like. Being independent, no trouble inside. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Let me tell you what it feels like. Being whose mama, yeah, to yourself right. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Be you and keep looking forward. Don't you look backwards and you'll be fine. Come through and say what you need to. Don't let them put you down. Baby, let me tell you what it feels like. Being independent, no trouble inside. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Let me tell you what it feels like. Being whose mama, yeah, to yourself right. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life.
Question: did you get a chance to meet with the royal family? And if not, how was it like having them there in the building?
Jesus, Mary, and Joseph?
The Prince and Princess of Wales.
Oh, no, I did not. I'm only familiar with one royal family. I don't know too much about that one.
Hello, everyone. Everyone hear me? Did manage to get a new headset today because my old one was giving me problems, but we should be good now. Yay, we can hear me. Fantastic. Right. A lot to unpack. A lot to unpack. So I'm gonna do a few updates because a couple of things have come through since yesterday, and then we will break down the interview, which literally just aired about 10 minutes ago in the UK. Also, for those of you in the UK, Anderson Cooper's CBS interview, the 60 Minutes interview will also air on ITV tomorrow. And the other ones, I think the Today Show one, I'm going to have to rely on the US squaddies to help me with clips and stuff from that. But overall, I'm so sorry. If I sound like I'm chomping and chewing, I'm not even kidding. I was chomping on popcorn throughout the whole of that. I literally had my it's like you know how popcorn is, like it gets like stuck in between your teeth and stuff. That's why I sound like I'm because I'm still chomping on popcorn. I'm so sorry. You're gonna have to just put up with my teeth smacking while I get the last bit of popcorn out of my mouth. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a very good interview. I thought he held his own. I thought that Brad B was fair, but he did press him on a few things. And yeah, I thought it was a good interview. I'd love to know what you all thought of it as well. But let's just get on to the other things first. And welcome everyone to the chat. And there's already 700 of you in this chat. So I'm just gonna say welcome to everyone in the chat and mods. You always do the Lord's work. Continue to do that today because I know that a hell of a lot of people in here are going to be trolls. All right, but let's get on to a couple of other things first before we get into the nitty gritty. So hardbacks of Spare have actually already started to go out. Some people have already got the book. Now I didn't order the hardback. I ordered the e-book and the audio, so I definitely won't get it until Tuesday. And if anything, I knew that I wasn't going to be in the country, so I thought it'd be better to just, get the e-versions and the audiobook. But some people do already have the hardbacks, and they've been showing pictures, and also they've been reading out the book on Twitter Spaces. So honestly, by the time Tuesday comes around, obviously I'm still going to listen to the audio and get every single last detail. But by the time Tuesday comes around, it's like, honey, we would have known pretty much everything. But the drama has actually helped. All publicity is good publicity, and the sales are through the roof. I had a look on Amazon earlier, and it actually showed unavailable. So they are, I'm sure, going into overdrive trying to get extra copies. And oh yeah, here are you can just screenshot this if you still don't know the times for the interviews. You all in America will see the other interviews before me because I'm going to go to bed straight after this. Right, on to some of the other things that have come up. Carolyn Flack's ex-agent, this tabloid goon, he came out and tweeted this. Alex Mullen, he tweeted, gross for Prince Harry to reveal such private details about Carolyn Flack. He also briefly mentions Carolyn Flack actually in the ITV interview in relation to press treatment of people. And he goes on to say, the way the press spoke about her at the time and the reason they split are both very sad, and it's gross he's using her name to help sell his book. The royal family need to strip him of all his titles now. Okay, first of all, sir, they already offered to give back their titles. I don't know what you're still talking about, saying the royal family need to strip him of his titles. Secondly, you're saying he's trying to use her to sell his book. Meanwhile, you still have a photo of her in your header. And if you actually read, I mean, I read out what Harry said about Carolyn Flack in his book yesterday, and it was so incredibly heartfelt. It was so touching. I didn't know about a lot about Carolyn other than the way that the British press painted her. Not so much when she dated Prince Harry. Actually, there wasn't really a whole lot about that in the press at the time. More so when she dated Harry Styles because of the age gap. Like they definitely painted her as this like pouncing cougar mom. They created this caricature of her. But when I read what Prince Harry said about her, it made me look at her in a completely different way. And I thought that it was very heartfelt. So to try and spin this narrative that he's using her name, that it's gross what he said, I think is just wrong. And I actually am suspicious about whether or not someone at the palace or the press got him to start barking. Because let's just look at what he actually said. He said, the way in which the press spoke about her at the time and the reasons they split are both very sad, and it's disgusting he's brought up old, long forgotten slurs she had to suffer in full view of the public around the world. But if you actually read Harry's book and the context in which he talked about those slurs, it was talking about how horrible it was that the press used those slurs against Carolyn. So I don't even understand what he means by any of this. But he goes on to say, of course, Carolyn reacted to them with humor and grace, but privately she was deeply hurt. Just the first of many injustices she didn't deserve. He also goes on to say, Harry's decision to remind us of all the terrible things said about her to sell his appalling book is grotesque. And then he goes on to say, moreover, and perhaps worst of all, he writes as if he has any idea why Carolyn took her own life, parroting media reports as if they're reality, blaming the press because that's what he read about it. I'm sorry, but Carolyn's own mother spoke about this. In fact, only a week ago, after the Harry and Meghan Netflix documentary aired, she talked about press treatment. So we know exactly why it was that Carolyn took her life. He then says, perhaps he should be considering how he and Meghan might have caused Queen Elizabeth's pain just as she lost her husband and while she was on the path to her final goodbye. The royal family needs to strip them of all their titles. Once again, Harry and Meghan caused the Queen's death. Not Prince Andrew, not anything else. Not her old age. The woman was 96. The fact that he brings up the thing about Harry and Meghan causing the Queen's death and pain, the fact that he says strip them of their titles, the fact that he is slightly defensive of the press in that second part, because we know that it was the press that partly led Miss Flack to take her own life. Those talking points tells me that perhaps he was prompted by someone in the palace or the press to say this. Truly disgusting. I think it's Mr. Alex here trying to use Carolyn for flack. Sorry, for not for flack, for clout. Truly horrid. Also, scraping the bottom of the barrel, the Daily Fail reporting that Harry may not have his visa renewed after he admitted taking drugs in his book. And I saw a tweet from, who was it? I think it was Amber Lynn. And she said, they really think that Harry's going to have his visa taken away for admitting to taking drugs when Ozzy Osbourne lives in the US. Oh my God, I died. But yeah, they go on to say immigration experts. Oh, they're even bringing in the immigration experts now. The body language experts are on break. So let's bring in the immigration experts. Notes that Harry should have been denied residency in the US if he failed to disclose his drug usage during the application process. Like, this is how they're scraping the bottom of the barrel, y'all. They really think that by admitting to drug use in his teenage years, that this guy, who's going to be contributing millions towards the United States taxpayer, is going to be denied entry. For real? Please. Oh God, I am so sorry. I'm gonna have to scroll past like half of your comments today because they are coming in hard and fast. Should I do a call in? Does anybody want to call in? Maybe I'll do just like one or two. Yes, Mackenzie. I think he is fishing for career relevancy and an interview. Like, nobody asked you, bro. Yes, Mary Cat. She was old. People don't live forever. Mad world. If I had $1,000 for every time I heard take away their titles, I'd be rich. Yes. I'd be able to buy Montecito Castle as well. For real. Yes, Benjamin, you have a whole molester in the palace. And yet it's Harry and Meghan that get all this flack. Unbelievable. All right. Oh, and also Caroline Flack herself actually talked about very briefly her and Harry's romance in her book. So I don't know what that guy was getting at. Also, more of this. Miss Petronella Wyatt tweeting, one of the late Queen's ladies in waiting told me that Harry's behaviour had an adverse effect on her deteriorating health. One of the ladies in waiting, which one was it? Can we have a name, please? So we know who the snake in the palace is. It certainly didn't make her last year on Earth one of unadulterated joy. Does Harry ever think of this? And then, as we speak the truth, responded by saying, so we guess that means Andrew's underage abuse court drama wasn't an issue for the Queen. Good to know. Also, she had the power to stop this, but chose to sit back silently and do nothing. So, the problem with people like Petronella tweeting things like this is that it only comes back to bite the other royals. Like this doesn't help at all. And I'm sure there's people in the palace that send her out to bark every time they need someone to pounce on Harry and Meghan. Yes, Marina Lauren Fox, he's another fool as well. I'm not even gonna post what he tweeted. That fool. Pay him no attention. But it doesn't help. This is not helping them, especially Petronella, when you yourself said that you had an affair with Bojo. He apparently asked her to get an abortion. And she was not thinking about his wife when they were having an affair. So who are you to come out here and throw stones? Coco, most of us have not seen the interview. Yes, of course I'm going to talk about it. Let me get through the other stories first, and then I will talk about the interview. I promise. We're getting there. We're getting there. Okay, next thing I wanted to mention was yes. So over in Australia, Nacho and the Tindalls, Mike and Zara, were seen together. I think this is part of some wider campaign they had going on, something to do with horses. Obviously, Zara rides horses and Nacho does polo. But yeah, they were photographed together down under. I hope that Mike was able to behave himself and not flap his gum and embarrass himself. But I came across this article. This was back in 2021 when Mike Tyndall allegedly said the royal family would love to violently assault Harry. And he said some pretty nasty things about Harry. I think after he came out of the jungle, and even before that, I think on another podcast, just can't seem to behave himself. But yeah, there was that. Andrea Allen, thank you so much for your super sticker, much appreciated. Oh, and also I saw this. Oh my god, I laughed. I absolutely laughed. Right. Shannon Silence tweeted, so Meghan paid for the furniture needed for Nottingham Cottage using her credit card. Before and during her marriage, Meghan paid for all her own clothing. She paid for her Givenchy wedding dress. And the Givenchy wedding dress, by the way, was apparently around about $100,000. And Stella McCartney reception dress. She wore a lot of pre-owned outfits. Now, in the picture where she's with Guy, the dog, that's in her Toronto home. And the picture with Miss Anne, is it Miss Anne Harriam, her photographer friend? That's Nottingham Cottage. So she actually had furniture that she bought, flown over to Nottingham Cottage. So Meghan was doing struggle love with a prince. Buying his furniture, you bring in your furniture. Heck, she was probably buying the groceries. And they want to call her a gold digger? Struggle love, but make it royal. That's what I say. Ladies, don't do struggle love, please. Even if he's a prince, don't do it. Okay, that's all I had to say in terms of updates. Oh, and also, So Harry does actually mention Prince Andrew in the book. And we are 3 days into this book being leaked, and it's only today that I actually saw this come up on my feed. So what does that tell you? It tells you that the press were picking and choosing the parts that would be the most sensationalist, and they're still protecting Andrew. But he does mention Andrew. And why is it that him and Meghan didn't get security, but Andrew did? Okay, I will get your comments, and then we will get on to the ITV interview. Because there's a lot to unpack, and I have 3 pages worth of notes. Valerie, President Biden and Obama took drugs as college students. Yeah, and they went on to become president. So Harry will be fine. Black Queen, you said these people are scraping the magma of the Earth's crust with this asinine crap. Yeah. Oh, but I'm glad that Harry keeps on going on at the press, because I'm hoping that eventually enough. We don't need everybody to come to the light side. We just need enough people to realize what the British press have been doing for the tide to start turning. I think the more they talk about this, Harry and Meghan talk about this, the closer we get to that. Joseph, the Sussex criticism of the firm would be just as true, relevant, and impactful without their titles as with them. It won't silence them or remove their receipt. Yes. I mean, the titles are just irrelevant at this point. They're only relevant to people that, still believe that a monarchy is relevant in this modern age. And it's just not. And I think that, Harry and Meghan have. I mean, Harry says in the interview that he still believes in monarchy. But my pushback to that would be, well, you and Meghan have gone off. You're still doing service away from the monarchy and not being funded by the British taxpayer. So if we're going to keep monarchy, what does that look like now in the modern age? It cannot look like showing up and smiling and waving, as William would say. It can't look like that. It can't look like taking 100 million from the taxpayer every single year to smile and wave. It can't look like you being allowed to be a bunch of adulterous people engaging in debauchery while still being at the top of the societal triangle. It has to look like something else. It can't look like being in bed with the press. It can't look like the secrets and all the things that we know go on, but dare not speak about because the censors will get us on this channel. It has to look like something else, something more progressive. And they had a chance for it to be that something more progressive, and they missed it with Meghan. So I'd just like for somebody to actually ask Harry and Meghan if they still believe in monarchy, if they still believe in this institution being here and being with us. What should that look like? What is that going to look like? Because with the people or the way their family is and the way they continue to want to live this very archaic lifestyle and way of being, it can't be what it is now. Leslie Ann, I don't think that Charles would want people to call Meghan Princess Meghan. No. And that's, do you know what? Just for that very petty reason is why they will never take their titles. Unfortunately, the haters don't realize this. Simply royal. I guess for him, believing in the monarchy is like I believe in America, but only with the right leadership. That's a good way of putting it, also. Because I think if we're going to have a modern monarchy, looks exactly like what Harry and Meghan are doing. They're still royals. They're not working royals. They don't work for the monarch anymore, but they're still royals. But they're not on the tax. They're not living on the taxpayers' dime. They're making their own private wealth, and they're being of service to their communities. That is what it should look like. Um, wow, so many comments. So sorry, folks. All right. Okay. I'm just going to get straight on with your notes. Otherwise, I'll be going through your comments forever. So with the interview, let's just take a step back here. Some very interesting things came out. We're going to have to come up with a new name for William because we've got Duchess of Tights for Kate, and apparently William, there was a beard gate. So Harry had gone to the Queen and asked if he could have his beard for the wedding, and the Queen was okay with it. But William said no. William said that Harry could not have his beard for the wedding. Like this is pettiness right here. And apparently the reason he said no is because there was one point where William had a beard and he was told that he had to get rid of it. I actually think that William looks a lot better with a beard. He looks more like a lad's lad. But there are some people that think that beards are quite messy and not proper. So I don't know if the reason he was told to shave it off was because it broke one of these stupid protocol things that they have. But also some people think that beards aren't very proper, but there's also the other side, and people who think that a beard is actually quite masculine and manly. I think beards are very masculine. I think they're very attractive. So I don't know if maybe it was like a brother jealousy thing. Oh no, we don't want Harry looking too buff on his wedding day. I don't know, but we now need a new name, William, Duke of Beard Pettiness. But yeah, there was that revelation. Some other revelations were right. So okay, the first thing that Tom Bradby asked was, why did you want to write the book and do all these interviews? And Harry said, quite rightly, after 38 years of having others tell my story, now I get to tell my story. Very fair. Tom Bradby also asked him, well, aren't you technically invading your family's privacy by writing this book and doing these interviews? And he said, well, I'm sitting here in front of you and I get to speak to you and it's from my lips. Whereas with his family continuously briefs to the press. And so, his family choosing to brief to the press instead of discuss matters privately in itself is an invasion of privacy. Not just an invasion of privacy, but also betrayal. So when you have tried and tried and tried, as Harry says that he has, to sort things out in private, and his family won't listen and don't want to keep things in private, well, what else can you do? I think for Harry, this is very much a last resort situation. And I wonder, actually, had his family not acted the way that they acted, we probably wouldn't have the Oprah interview and all of this. But he has to tell his side of the story for historical purposes. That's one of the things that he says later on in the interview, for historical purposes, historical facts and significance. So he's able to tell his story and his kids know what the real story was, not the story through the media, through the British media. So there was that. He says that. Sorry, my notes are so messy. I can't even read my own writing. So the book actually starts with Charles coming to talk to Harry about his mother's car crash. Um, he also says that he lost a lot of memories from before his mother's death, because he was trying to suppress so much of the grief. Um, Also, when he asked to see the files from one of the secretaries that was handling the case, um, uh, the secretary, I think his name was Jamie, actually took out some of the most graphic photos. And Harry says that he's so thankful for that because he doesn't think he would have been able to deal with seeing that. He saw some photos like the back of her head, but the most graphic ones were taken out. And he says that I think the reason I wanted to see the graphic photos was because he wanted to, almost like he wanted to feel the shock. He wanted to feel something because he felt so numb. So a lot of grief. Um, oh, he does also go on to say that there are a lot of unanswered questions and a lot of things unexplained about the night. But he doesn't see a point of trying to open an inquiry again. He also goes on to say that he understands why his family needs to have a relationship with the press, but he doesn't agree with it. On Camilla, he reiterates what is said in the book that him and William said, well, if you want to be with Camilla, but we don't want you to marry her. Upon Charles and Camilla getting married, he did say that from that point he was happy for his father and he feels that they are happy together. But he reiterates he did not want his father to marry Camilla and he felt that she had a long game for marriage and then the crown. Harry then goes on to say that he does want reconciliation but accountability. Also, this is very interesting. He said that William said that Africa was his thing, and that Harry couldn't have it. Africa was his thing. Like, honey, like I just find that I don't even know what word I could use to describe that. Because presumably he's talking about working with different charities but there's no reason why both boys can't do that. And given what we've seen from, say, the Caribbean tour and how William and Kate were acting during that tour, they obviously do not know how to, especially in this modern age that we're in, how to act around, how to converse with people of color. William and Kate and the other royals clearly struggle, clearly, in a way that Harry and Meghan never did. It came so naturally to them, and Diana as well. Also, we find out that William and Kate were Suits fans, and I guess it must have been surprising for them to find out that Harry was dating this Meghan girl who was playing Rachel Zane. But wow, that was a shock to me that William and Kate were Suits fans. What else? Oh, there was an altercation after Philip's funeral. So they had like a code word between them, which was "I swear on Mummy's life," and they said that they would never use it unless it was like the most dire situation, and they needed to make like a direct point, very desperately. And William used the code word. He says, "I swore on Mummy's life," during that altercation after Philip's funeral, and Harry didn't believe him. He didn't believe his brother. Very sad. Like the trust and who can blame him is gone. But Harry, despite all of this, despite Jason Off feeding the tabloids, William clearly given the go ahead for that to happen, Harry still believes in reconciliation. He still believes in reconciliation. I don't think there can be reconciliation unless his family come clean about their sins. And their sins are so deep and so dire that they will never get out of bed with the press. I think the only way there can ever be peace here is if his family members come clean about their mess. Because one of the reasons why Meghan got thrown to the wolves, fed to the wolves, was to hide what the other family members are hiding. Okay, what else? Oh, he does mention the Jeremy Clarkson thing. And he says, it's unacceptable that, it's not just about what Jeremy Clarkson said, but it's, other men hearing that and thinking that it's okay. Also quite interesting, he does quote Camilla. He says, to use my stepmother's words. So I guess he watched Camilla's speech about violence against women. He says, to quote my stepmother's words, there is a global pandemic of violence against women. He also does mention the whole Ngozi Fulani, Suzanne Hussey thing. He says that he was happy that Ngozi Fulani was invited, and says that him and Meghan actually love Suzanne Hussey, which I thought was quite interesting. Suzanne Hussey was actually sitting behind Harry and Meghan at the Commonwealth service, the last one. He also goes on to say that the British press's actions are damaging to the UK. Yes, they are. But that he still loves his country. There was an interesting part. And I'm gonna scroll all. I'm so sorry. I'm missing some of your comments, but I want to know what you guys all thought. Those of you that heard it, about what he says about the whole thing about Archie's the conversation about Archie's skin color. Because so Brad B says, that comment was oh god, now I have to try and remember because I didn't write it down word for word. But he basically brings up that comment in relation to racism, and then Harry says that him and Meghan didn't say that it was racist. The British press said that it was racist, and he refers to what was said as unconscious bias, not racism. And then he then goes on to say, well, families who are mixed, especially from the white side, often ask, what are the kids going to look like? But my understanding of what Harry and Meghan said regarding, this whole thing about Archie and his skin color wasn't what are the babies going to look, because what are the babies going to look like to me isn't necessarily offensive. I think when you do have a mixed couple, yeah, everybody does wonder, what are the babies going to look like, and they're probably going to look cute. What people don't often go on to say is that they are concerned about the baby skin color. So I was a little bit confused about that. Maybe he feels that what they were saying wasn't necessarily whoever said that wasn't being racist. It's just the environment of which they live in and the culture has created this unconscious bias where maybe they don't realize they are saying things that are offensive. Maybe that's where Harry was coming from. And perhaps he just wants them to be able to see that and take accountability. But I'll be interested to know how you all felt about that. But yeah, there was that. And he ended by saying that he's never been happier and that he recognizes that there are some people who don't want to believe that. like one of the crazy people that rang into LBC today. I'm gonna play what this tabloid indoctrinated fool said on LBC to Natasha Devon. Um, but he says that he recognizes that some people, don't want to believe that he's happy, that some people are upset that he's happy, but he is happy. He's never been happier. And yeah, that was pretty much that pretty much sums up the interview. There were parts of the audiobook that were played, but nothing that I don't think you will hear or read in the book. Right. Oh, thank you so much for the trolls for coming in, by the way. Thank you. We appreciate you being here because, you got nothing else to do apparently. So here you are. Mad World. It's hard for some people to break away from hurtful family members, and there is always hope that they will change. It took me years to do so, and I'll always say a prayer that will change. Yeah, I mean, you hope, but sometimes in some situations, it's just like, you know what, it's not going to happen. And sometimes you have to realize that because he's saying that he wants reconciliation. Does Megan want reconciliation? Be interested to hear from her. Rachel, you said, Will tried to take conservation non-profit in Africa and the organization refused and stayed with Harry. Will is just narcissistic, yes. Valerie, Harry is saying that for history. However, I think he knows that he will be separate from his family. I mean, it's interesting. I never expect Harry to trash his family. I think he just wants the truth, and so the truth is hard. It's embarrassing. Certainly embarrassing for them because of their behavior, but it is the truth. But you still do get the sense that he is very much protecting his family to a certain degree, and that there is a lot that isn't being said. LA William would need help with his anger for there to be reconciliation. Yes. Yes. Light side. How about Willie Goatgrass as his new nickname? Not a bad one. You can get it trending. Lorna, are they still hiding what really happened in Jamaica? Yo, what happened in Jamaica? Is this about what Rahini said? Oh dear. Teresa, you said Harry is so intelligent, very direct, didn't bother with diplomacy, very honest, confident, and intentional in his criticism of the dad and brother who definitely needs therapy. Yeah. He's he definitely knows how to formulate his words. Like he gets the point across without being because like I said, I don't think he's trying to trash his family. He's just being truthful. But he knows how to, weave his words to put the point across. Travel, you said the interview was excellent. If his family had joined forces with him, they could have broken the hold the press have on them. Straightforward and honest. Yes, and one of the things that he said was that it's the press that want this rivalry to continue because it serves them. Donna, Harry was still giving his family a pass. That was a racist comment about Archie's skin color. Yeah. I felt that too, if I'm honest. Lizzie, I have a theory about Guy's broken legs. I think that may be the Fresh Prince of No Hair pushed him that he maybe fell on Guy, and that's why the "Don't tell Meg about this" comments is linked. That's very interesting. I don't know if would falling on a dog be enough to break both of his legs? That's very interesting theory because it's never been explained why Guy broke his legs. I remember when it came out in the press tried to spin it in a way that made it look Meghan like an irresponsible pet owner. And we do see Guy with the broken legs in the Netflix documentary. Very strange. Lucy Wynn, it was racist and he just don't want to believe it. That's kind of what I felt as well. That is what I felt as well. Joyce, you said that he was pressed on some things. What was he pressed on? Oh, yes. Okay. Thank you for asking that, Joyce. So one of the things Tom Bradby pressed him on was, shouldn't we be allowed to have a free press, and the press criticize people, especially people in powerful positions like yourself, Harry? And Harry basically said, well, of course, we should have a free and open press, but who is regulating the press? Because that the press has a great responsibility in society, right? The amount of power that they hold. If you control the press, you basically control how people think. You basically control whole nations. So you have a duty, you have a responsibility to focus on truth, focus on informing people, not trying to manipulate them into a certain way of thinking, not using the power that you have to destroy people, not using the power that you have to destroy people. And that is what the British tabloid press do. They are not in the business of being informative. They are not in the business of holding powerful people accountable, especially when a lot of the powerful people that need to be held accountable can so easily pay them off. And they often protect people the way they're protecting the other members of the royal family, the way they're protecting Andrew, the way they protect many people in government. So, yes, powerful people should be held accountable, but the press often doesn't do that to the people it should do the most. And what they've done the last 5 or 6 years to Harry and Meghan, that's not holding them accountable. It's just straight up bullying. Because what do Harry and Meghan even need to be held accountable for? What have they done? They have done nothing to deserve what has happened to them. Meghan did nothing to deserve to be put in a situation where she was having suicidal ideations. So the press are abusing the power that they have. And there is no one who is able to put them in check. Even the government. And that's partly because of the hold that they have over government or people in government. It's darn near impossible to become the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom unless Rupert Murdoch and Rothermere say that you can. Because they drive the narrative in the papers. So we don't have a free and open press. We have this controlling Svengali that just has its hands on the neck of our country. And we definitely need a press reform. Because the mainstream media that we do have, they're tabloids. They're not a true informative press. So that was what Tom Bradby pushed back against. He was trying to, I guess he was just trying to challenge him. And, I felt that Harry answered very well. Because there are things that are very much in the public interest that we don't know about and that aren't given enough attention. I mean, right now, right now, the drama of the royal family should not be the number one story. The NHS is falling apart. We've got people striking. We've got people starving. We've got people who can't heat their homes. We've got inflation. We've got a war going on. We've got cronyism in government. PPE scandal, hundreds of millions of pounds that were given to government ministers' friends. And they're focused on Harry and Meghan? Some free and open press. That is. Okay. Thank you so much, Mod Squad. Thank you so much. It's almost impossible to keep an eye on the comments with so many people in the chat. Appreciate you a lot. Joyce, will this interview be on YouTube? So if you download or if you go to ITVX, the player, and you have put a VPN on your computer and set the VPN to the United Kingdom, and you should be able to watch it. I believe that ITVX, the iPlayer, it's free. It is free. So you should be able to watch the interview. But I'm sure people will be sharing it around like online and you'll get clips. But what I said just now, that was pretty much, a full breakdown, and anything else you will read or hear if you're listening to the audio in the book. Jalen, you said, if I was Harry, I would not let William around my children. Well, if he's going to have violent outbursts like that, I wouldn't allow him around my children either. Sue, it's hard when you've got a deadbeat family. No matter what they do to you, you can't really give them up. You can love them from afar. Yeah. I don't see from their side, I don't see that they'll ever want reconciliation. I don't. Janita, not the Fresh Prince of no hair. Oh yeah. Diana reached down from heaven, snatched back them fine Spencer jeans. Right, I'm gonna play something from LBC Radio and just listen to this this complete deranger, because this just illustrates what and who it is that we're dealing with. Right, let me just get it on my phone and then listen to this. Just wow. And I'm going to stop it at several points. No matter what you say, Harry is obviously... One sec. So sorry, but I can't listen to this hogwash anymore. No matter what you say, Harry is obviously the sickest of the royal family. He's selling his family, he's throwing his family under a bus. Meghan is completely behind this, and all he's doing this for is monetizing of something that he doesn't believe in. Right, let's just stop right there. First thing, monetizing something that he doesn't believe in. I'm sorry, how much does the British taxpayer pay to the monarchy again? Over 100 million a year. But Harry is monetizing. Mind you, I mean, how many royal biographies have there been? You can buy, gin made from fruits from Queen's Garden. The other royals, they do make money in other ways. Anyway, the next part.
And why do you care? Because you sound quite upset about that. Why are you so invested? Actually, yeah, because I'm a Tory supporter. I've been a royalist through and
I'm a Tory supporter.
And I think it's absolutely disgusting how he's left his brother, Prince William, who is dutiful. This guy, Prince Harry, has came from an overprivileged family. He's had the riches at his fingertips, the best education in the world. And here he is now deciding that he wants to jump ship and doesn't want to do the hard work, but he still wants to monetize off it.
Does this woman actually know what the meaning of work is? Because if there's one thing the royals don't do, it's work. And something I've been thinking about, I think that a lot of royalists are having an identity crisis because the illusion is now broken. And I feel like they don't want to actually see these people, the royals, for the flawed individuals that they are. Because an institution that protected Jimmy Savile and is connected to Epstein, this is what you're so irate. You're so offended on behalf of this institution.
So and so is absolutely behind all of this. And she knew
Oh, sorry,
exactly
wait,
what
I
she
have
was
to go
doing
back
from
a little
the
bit.
get-go. It's interesting that he wants to jump ship and doesn't want to do the hard work, but he still wants to monetize off it. It's disgusting. And this manipulative so and so is absolutely behind all of this.
Manipulative so and so. That's how she refers to Meghan as. Girl, he was never going to marry you. Harry was never going to marry you. He was never going to marry any of you bitter Bettys out here.
And she knew exactly what she was doing from the get-go.
It's interesting that you describe them as overprivileged, and yet you also describe yourself as a royalist and a supporter of the royal family. So you obviously support the hierarchy as it stands, with the royal family at the top of
Yes.
British society. So your emotional investment in this, is this because you think that he is undermining significantly the royal family? Do you think he has that power?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I do. And I think he's sort of making our country look like absolute gosh. I mean, it's just...
No, lady, it is you. It is people like you that is making the United Kingdom look absolutely ridiculous. Parroting talking points from the manipulative British press. It is people like you. It is people like you who I don't trust. Having watched what the press has done to this woman of color for going on 6 years, the fact that you can't see why it was done to her. It is you, ma'am. You are the reason those 60 MPs, both Conservative and Labour, men and women, had to sign that letter. A second letter. The first one was 72 female MPs. But you are the reason they had to sign that letter, because someone from the UK, someone in a position of power, had to show that there are adults in the room and that we're not all brain dead like you.
Disgusting what he's done, and I can't believe anybody is paying to watch this Netflix, paying to read his book. This guy should go and live in exile. If this was 300 years ago, I mean, this is treason.
This is treason. This is treason. Those of you in the United Kingdom that saw the way this government handled the COVID pandemic, that is what I would say is treason. That's treasonous. Harry and Meghan going off to mind their business, that's not treason. Even using a word like that, literally using the word treason. Isn't that what those Nazis, one of them who was thrown in jail for saying that Harry was a traitor, yeah, he called him a treasonous traitor for marrying and having a child with a biracial woman. I don't know how this counts as treason. And treason against who? Against the royals, against the British girl.
It's just
So
disgusting what he's doing.
You talked about how our country looks to the rest of the world. Are you embarrassed? Are you embarrassed by the revelations?
Absolutely, absolutely. This guy should have done his duties. He should have fulfilled his duties as part of the royal family, like everybody else does, and get on with it.
The revelations are about the family, though. So to a degree, you're embarrassed about the mirror that Harry's holding up to this institution that you have been supportive of. So
and that right there, wasn't that my point at the beginning? They are having an identity crisis because the fairy tale is now dead. And do you know what? Let me just say this. I've traveled a lot the last maybe 6-7 years, and I remember when I first started traveling. You say that, oh, you're from the UK, you're from London, right? people would stand up a bit and straighten their backs, because there is this idea, this image that has been sold. The royal family being, part of that. I mean, you've got people from, I've seen like, what do you call them? Those deportment classes, like how to be an aristo. People from other countries, they pay hundreds of pounds to take part in things like that because of this image there is. And I think Natasha is right. It's like this is kind of holding up a mirror. And now they don't know what to do, now that that veneer is gone. And I tell you what, women who, like the woman who's speaking, what they can do is actually admit there is something very wrong with this institution and demand that this institution cleans itself up, demands that the press cleans itself up, and that we stop putting this institution at the center of British identity when there are so many other things. So many other things that we can be proud of as a nation. Why do we keep putting these corrupt institutions and corrupt people at the center of that? And I think what this lady needs to do and what other people need to do is, stop seeing yourself as part of this, because at the end of the day, the monarchy is at the top of what is essentially a class system, right, in the UK. And for as long as that class system is in place, I don't think we'll ever truly be free. Like, have more of a backbone, have more self-belief, and don't believe that your worth only comes from seeing yourself through this institution.
But are you embarrassed to have
not
supported
at all.
them?
I'm embarrassed about him.
Right.
I'm embarrassed about him. I'm embarrassed about what he has married.
What he has married.
About what he has married.
I mean, referring to Meghan as what he has married, like as if she's something, some creature.
I mean, look at William. He did the right thing. He married a proper English rose.
I think we all know full well what proper English rose is a dog whistle for.
Who's doing exactly what she should be doing.
Being a silent mute that doesn't stick up for herself. And that is what you think we should be praising in this here 2023 that we just entered.
She's being beautiful.
Okay,
supporting her country.
Being beautiful and supporting her country. So we just want women to be beautiful now, in this here 2023. And supporting her country by only doing 90 engagements in 1 year.
And how is she doing that, in your view? Just by not saying anything?
No, not at all. I don't think it's that. I think she's fulfilling her duties. She's hardworking, just like Princess Anne.
Well, I mean, we actually discuss...
Princess Anne did over 200 engagements. No impact, but nonetheless, 200 engagements. Kate did 90.
Statistics on the show, it was either last week or the week before, which showed that the number of royal visits that particularly William and Kate have done is actually very, very low, particularly compared to Princess Anne. They're not doing that much as compared to the more senior members of the royal family. So I just wonder what it is that Kate represents to you that Meghan doesn't.
Oh, I think Meghan is very contrived. She's very manipulative, and she's got exactly what she wants. And she's trying to tear down the royal family. And now he's over.
Like the amount of power that these people give Meghan. Like Meghan is the one that tore down the royal family.
There in, La La Land with her, and it's just dreadful. It's just dreadful. And now they're still trying to monetize of something that they don't believe in.
But, I mean, I've heard it said that that Catherine picked the university she did purely because she wanted
Yes,
to
and
marry
she changed.
William.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
you could, if you were differently minded, describe that as being quite manipulative and wanting to get what she wanted. So, what is the fundamental difference between Kate and Meghan that you find so prominent?
Because it's quite easy. I mean, Kate hasn't destroyed our monarchy. And this woman has came in single-handedly to destroy our monarchy. And I think she's probably just wanted to up her own career, to be quite honest.
There you have it, y'all. That is what we're dealing with here. And that is why I say, do you know what? You're not going to be able to get to everyone. And you know what? That's fine. I think people like that are going to get a reality check in a different way. I mean, to blame all of this, of everything wrong with the royals, and you blame everything on Meghan. What? Charles running around the Middle East getting cash bags? That's not a problem. It's all Meghan's fault. Andrew being friends with Epstein, not a problem. It's all Meghan's fault. The revolving door of corruption between the royals, the press, and the government, not a problem. It's all Meghan's fault. Anyway, 2 more days until full release, and a couple more interviews to come from Harry. Like I said yesterday, I think in the end, this is going to be these are rough seas that we have to ride before we get to the shore. But when we do get to the shore, yes, Sandy, talk about drinking the Kool-Aid. When we do get to the shore, love will be there, and love is what wins. So with that, I'm going to end the podcast. Thank you all so much for coming and supporting as you always do. And yeah, we're going to have a lot to say in tomorrow's podcast because of all the other interviews that are going to come out. Levy, why do all these women sound scorned? Oh, they all thought they had a chance, honey. They all thought they had a chance. Do you know what? Another part of the fairy tale that I think has died. You had a lot of mothers and their daughters going to these how to be an aristo classes, you know, which spoon do you eat with first? Which fork do you eat with first? How does one pour their tea? And Harry didn't want a mute woman who just looked pretty in a dress. He went for the vocal, activist, humanitarian, self-made, got her own money, independent woman, feminist, American, divorcee. Definitely not an English rose, biracial woman. And I think it's killed a lot of their fantasy. Let's not be silly. There are a lot of women who, you know, they do very much want to go back to the olden days when, and I think they do very much romanticize the olden days when women did not have to take on the challenges of what modern womanhood has brought. But that's because women weren't treated as full adults or treated like children. But some of them would just love to be a pretty mute face. Pretty mute, pretty face. Whereas to be a woman like Meghan, it means taking full control of your life and doing the hard grafting and the hard work. And Harry and Meghan's relationship has destroyed that fantasy fairy tale that the prince is just going to pick you because you're pretty and skinny. So that is why some of these women sound so scorned, Levy, I think. Right. I'll just take a couple more of your comments and then we will end the podcast. Thank you so much, everyone. Yes, how key. These are the type of people who are pro-monarchy and you can't change them. You really can't. I don't know what it's going to take for them to get a clue and realize what and who exactly it is that they're supporting. Yes, Maggie, if Meghan can destroy the monarchy, then it really wasn't much anyway. Yes, and look, she literally just dehumanized Megan the way she was speaking. Shout out to Natasha, who was just keeping her cool right there. Okay, Faith, I'm gonna give you the last word of the day. No bad energy. Oh, Amy, you wanted to call in. Do you know what? It's going to over an hour now, and it's really late here. So I will. Do you know what I'm gonna do? I know that we usually only have call-ins on Fridays, but what I'll do is, but I feel like by Tuesday, a lot more of the book would have come out. I would have read it. So we'll do like I'll take a couple call-ins on Tuesday, and then I'll also do like a Wednesday call-in because I know that you've all got so much to say and there is a lot to talk about. All right, so I'll do like maybe 2 or 3 people on Tuesday, and then I'll have a big call in on Wednesday, and then we'll have a usual call in on Friday. Okay. All right, no bad energy, everyone. Please do get some rest. Remember that love will win, and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay. Ciao. Oh, does anyone know if is Baron on now? If Baron's on, make sure to go and watch Baron. Okay.
Love's for beginners, ain't no winners. It slips through your fingers. I ain't telling no lies. So F all the drama, F the karma. Just do what you wanna. Promise you got time. Be you and keep looking forward. Don't you look backwards and you'll be fine. Come through and say what you need to. Don't let them put you down. Baby, let me tell you what it feels like. Being independent, no trouble inside. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Let me tell you what it feels like. Being no mama, yeah, do yourself right. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Come get your future. Know you wanna, she'll never betray ya. She ain't telling no lies. So break the glass ceiling, find your meaning, make truth out of dreaming. Yeah.